Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to today's session. I'm excited to have you, and I'm particularly excited to have this opportunity to engage with you on this topic that's keen to what I'm doing, but also focus. I'm currently working on some of the continuous improvement within my work. So I'm really excited that you are able to join me today. And for those who will be watching this later, I hope this would be a great opportunity for you to learn something new, but more importantly, how to redefine your continuous improvement or Kaizen for your team. We're also going to talk a little bit about what are the building blocks of effective Kaizen implementation. And looking at what's the difference between problem solving and fixing. I know, yes, what's the difference? Quite confusing, right? And then lastly, I will join you. I will request you to join me in implementing Kaizen challenge, choosing a topic that you're struggling with or you're struggling with, and working on experimenting for the next 3 months. So without further ado, let's get into it. So this is a little bit about myself, which as I strongly encourage organizations to just work with their team members, because often it's the team that that actually delivers the results. So as an accredited Lean Six Sigma trainer, I am really passionate about ensuring and listening to my clients so that they can collaborate seamlessly with teams, but also just ensuring that there's diversity in thought and connecting the dots wherever I work in. So focusing on systems, processes, and stuff for accelerated growth is what I'm really all about. Some of the trainings that I offer through my company Soraja is we've got Lean Six Sigma. These are varied, so you can have the 1 day, the yellow belt, and the yellow belt is 2 days and green is 5 days. And there's an asterisk there to just show you that there's flexibility in terms of time. From experience, I realized having a packed 5 day week for training often results in high attrition when it comes to implementation, because people just get back to work. So I prefer to have it and encourage businesses and organizations to spread that through a couple of weeks so that they have enough time to implement what they're learning. But in the event you're not interested in certification, we also offer master classes, which run from 1.5 hours to 8 to 12 weeks, and these are bi-weekly programs. So from Unlock Business Efficiency, just exploring what frontline leadership is, or peak team performance habits. These are some of the things that some of the training options that we currently have for you. I also offer on-site and remote coaching. And the benefit of this is, it's easy to get trained, it's easy to get certified, but the challenge often is when you get back to work and it's want to implement, and you realize, oh, I really do need expert support. We learned a lot. What's the right things? Also, often there's a lot of doubt. And if I can help you minimize some of that doubt as you implement, as you experiment, then I'd be really happy to coach your team or yourself. Our focus, again, as I mentioned earlier, is people, processes, and success. So I'm passionate about growing people who simplify processes so that success can be easier and repeatable, I may add. And the idea here is everyone in the organization is there to improve their work. And when we, everybody in the organizations eliminate waste, and these are the 9 lean wastes or 9 type of inefficiencies. I have a training webinar on that as well. So feel free to go to our website and check it out. And then when the inefficiencies are reduced significantly, then it's easy to produce great results. So today, if just to get us going on, what are some of the challenges you're facing with Kaizen? Yes, tell me a little bit about that. Please type in the chat so that I can get to hear what you're all saying. All right, thank you. Yes, I see that. Yes, the definition. What is Kaizen? It is very confusing. Thank you so much for that. Is Kaizen an approach? Is it a methodology? What's the difference between Kaizen and, some things like 5S? All right, I see that. Yeah, that's a good one, and we'll cover it shortly. How to sustain the results? Yes, how to sustain. Yes, yeah, that's a good one. Thank you. Whose role is it? Is it something that senior leadership can do? Is it individuals? Okay, all right. Okay, to get us going, I'll aim to address some of these challenges as we go through looking at what is the definitions, but also what are some of the challenges. Is it the teams? So thank you so much for this, and I'll address them in the slides as we go through it. Yeah, but thank you so much, because these are some of the concerns that people often wonder about it. And I'll come back to this at the end of the slide to see if any of the issues that you've raised are addressed. So to get us going, yes, what is Kaizen? So I'll dig deep into a little bit by going through the dictionary, or the common way that the widely way that Kaizen is currently being used. And I'm going to rely on the Japanese definition for it. So if we look at the Kaizen, it's actually two words. And in Japanese, this is called a kanji, which is a set of, signs or syllables. And the first bit, kai, means change or to correct, which can also mean good, beneficial. And I learned is it comes also from a Japanese verb, aratameru, which means is, to change, renew, or improve. And I like this. I like knowing this because, sometimes often we use Kaizen as, change for the better, which is good. But I also like this idea of just how do we renew ourselves? How do we renew what we're doing? Give motivation, increase engagement. So that bit of renewal is really, really good. I do like it a lot. But then the next kanji, which is it's something that signifies something good, just, or moral. And when we're looking at continuous improvement in general, there's a strong focus on being respectful, not just to employees, but also to all our stakeholders. So being just in our act, and just the moral grounding for it is also really, really helpful in this expanded version. However, as a continuous improvement, Kaizen has been defined by Masaki Imai, and he's literally the father of Kaizen as a philosophy and a framework for continuous improvement. He worked with someone called Taichi Ono, and also worked in Toyota. So there's a strong interfusion, or union between what he's talking about and what traditional or commonly referred as lean is all about. But he's used this as he's refined it over the years, and his definition is similar to what I currently use, and which literally means, continuing improvement in personal life, home and life, whether it's work life or social life, but also when implemented at the workplace. Then Kaizen means continuing improvement by everyone. So everyone, from top managers to the janitors, everyone alike. So that's really, really, really important and good to know. Before we go into the next definition of Kaizen as a verb, I'd like us to think about something and try and differentiate the difference between fixing a problem and solving a problem. some of the things that I often look at if I go to an organization to help through this is number one, is there a standard of performance known? Do we currently have the current state versus the target? If we have the current state, even if we don't have the target, then we are going to solve a problem. If we know this is what is expected of this process and this is what the problem has come about, then we can say, yes, we know a little bit about the problem. And these are the parameters, this is how it's supposed to behave, but it's not behaving. So for us to be able to understand, explore, and find the root cause, then that way we are solving a problem. Fixing a problem, as we can see in the subsequent indicators, often if we jump into the third one, often the root cause is not known or established. And this is because it's often emergency. We've got to fix it now. And everybody needs to, just jump the hoops, come up with different solutions. I liked last week I was attending a training and Michael Sales was like, yeah, I like to call it a laundry list. So everybody just hangs a lot of things up in the air, and then hopefully one of them will be blown away by the wind, and then that might give us some results. But then we will not be able to know what actually helped in improving that. So the other way to look at it is does it happen again? Does the same mistake or error happen again? When you've solved a problem, no, it will not happen again because you established the root cause. But when you're fixing a problem, it will likely happen again because you don't know what really caused it. You are solving symptoms. One important bit for you all as managers today is, what is your role when it comes to managing problems? Are you a hero? Are you the one who at the end of the day is like, oh goodness, everyone's like, oh, I'm the best. Yeah, I'm a hero. I feel good. My chest is, I'm really, excited and happy that I won today? Or are you like, oh, I trained my disease, and that gives you some inward satisfaction? And often again, as a trainer or a coach, you might not get that immediate boost of energy for helping, but you might internally have a long satisfaction of the job because you're seeing people develop, you're seeing people grow. So that's something that is important to take into account. And as we're going to focus a little bit more about it today, on the building block. And then the other thing that worth also looking about is when you're fixing a problem, then it's often hard because there's a survival. You're trying to do everything to solve this, to fix it right now. And then, but when you found the root cause, which in this case you're solving a problem, then there's something that you learn. It's very clear that you learn. You're not in survival mode. You're recording. You're putting in data. You're understanding behaviors. And after that, you'll be required to review whether the current state is currently working and how you can change it. So this is just something to think about as you're fixing or solving a problem, and more importantly, as you're managing your team. And I have to admit, I'm still really exploring how these different places and how it works, because it does create a little bit more confusion on what is Kaizen. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been doing some deep reading and also attending trainings. And one of the things I realized is Kaizen is often used as a verb. And to illustrate this, and it also helps distinguish between problem solving and Kaizen. I know that sounds really sad. Yeah, don't worry, but I'll try and break it down. So let's say we have a target, that's our target, but our performance is way below, there's a gap. And for us to get to our target, now we've set a standard, we need to experiment. And this could be because of long-term underperformance that's caused by many issues. So we've got to try and work back, work backwards so that we meet our current target because we're behind, we're below, we can see we're below the line. And in this case, we will need to problem solve. It's problem solving and not fixing the problem because we have a standard. We have a target that is set, that is known. The second bit is when we have a special cause, and which helps us drop below our target. Then we also need to experiment. This could be something broke. Again, we're working backwards. We're reactive, and this is problem solving. Here comes the difference. So we have a target. We are slightly or above our current target, but we want to grow. So there's a gap. We also experiment. This is what is called as Kaizen as a verb. So anytime you're saying, oh, we want to Kaizen a process, then it actually means you're looking to grow. You're not trying to catch up. You're looking to grow. And this proactive nature of whether it's preventing problems so that we are able to grow or innovating. This is how a lot of companies, including Toyota, improved their logistics. Whether it's with the dealers, but also just in the process of procuring materials. So it's really an interesting thing to know, but I like it because now it's challenging me to figure out when I use the word Kaizen, what exactly am I referring to? But the goal would be to use it when I am growing, not when I'm doing reactive problem solving, but proactive problem solving. So let's move a little bit and feel free to drop in comments or questions in the chat, and I'll be sure to capture it. So one of the things that I love about continuous improvement general and the way I love to define it is everyone comes to work to improve their life. So yes, you come to work to do, but is your goal really just to do it? And the challenge with limiting coming to work just to do your work is often you're not concerned about how what you deliver at the end of the day is impacting your colleagues' performance. So the input and the output is really important. So if you're improving, you actually care about that. And as a manager, stop giving solutions. And I hope you see how you're starting to see the link with stopping to give solution will help you stop fixing problems. And also maybe next time someone comes to you with a solution, usually, yes, I got this. Oh, I know this. I know the answer. Please ask them, how did you get to that answer? Why does he think his answer? Or can you prove to you that he's found the root cause of the problem? The next thing is to develop your team. And by developing your team, as I mentioned earlier, it requires servant leadership. And it also, we're going to touch a little bit about the three key things that you need to do as a leader. So hang on, but it's more important, it's just asking questions and not giving solutions. But the other thing that you need to think about is also getting them to experiment. I'll show you some examples today from the banking sector, but also from shipping, where weekly I would recommend trying to do at least an experiment every week, minimum. If you can do it daily, if something is really worth experimenting for a day, then that's really worth exploring. But minimal weekly review, weekly experimentation. What did we learn? We'll talk a little bit more about this as well today. Use value-centered data. This bit is something I got from Michael Parker. He wrote a book, Who Said So? Some of you might remember the movie Who Said So, Diana Keaton, and Jack Nicholson. But no, it's also funny. The book is also really funny, but it's also just how to use value-centered data and management approach. I bring it in here because often the biggest challenge with continuous improvement is what data do we need to collect. So we'll focus on this next as well. Spend time at the workstation. For those in the service industry, it's really easy to find that you are spending your time a lot in the office as a manager. And the unfortunate, or the downside of that is you're not with the employees. You don't understand how work is done or what is done. And I always give this example of once I was, working with a water company, and the technical manager was previously 20 years before that was reading meters. So he was definitely a great person in terms of, his personal growth and professional growth. But 20 years down the line, he still thought he knew how the meter reading was done and the best way to read it. And yet during this time, there's so much technology changes. So there is no way he would know. So going and spending time, at least, I would say 1 hour a day out of carving your time to spend at the station is really, really important, so that you see where work is done, engage with your employees, train them, and that's an opportunity for you to train your employees. To learn how to experiment. So that's really, really important. When we are looking at accountability, it's really, really important that what are the accountability systems that are in place for individually, but also between team members, between leaders and employees. I would love in the future to cover some accountability systems within continuous improvement or Kaizen approach. And the reason for this is often leaders, and especially when we're looking at strategic alignment, there can be a strong focus on results, but poor performance is not really managed properly. Or I've been in organizations where good performance was appreciated only verbally, and also what was called also stamped as good performance was also not very for high performance employees was not something that they were looking forward to. So what is your reward incentive, but also how do you engage your employee? And this also brings us to the last building block for effective Kaizen, and it's strategic alignment. So yes, what are your visions? What is your department vision? But also what is in it for me? That's for the employees. One of the things that's really, really important, often when people do continuous improvement, there's a sense that jobs are being eliminated. But if you give the employees that after a few, once we streamline this process, then your job will be gone, then there's no incentive for them to do that. Or the cases where the employees feel, oh, we're making money for the stakeholders. Where does that leave the employee? So as we look at strategic alignment, we also need to look at, are we giving good enough benefit? And as we work with even younger people, how do we keep them engaged? And what's the company culture? What's your department culture? Let's forget about the company for a while. But what it's even, as a department, you also need to have your own strategy. You also need to have your own culture that fits into the organizational system and where the organization is laid. So now, very briefly, I'd like us to talk about the value center data. I really, really enjoy using this tool because, one, it simplifies what data I need to collect. This is when I was working with microfinance institutions, but also banks. And what was really, really helpful with this value-centered data, or the 3S card. The 3S stands for state of customers, state of value stream, and state of company. So those are the 3S. And here you can have the measurements. I'll give you some sample measurements that you can collect. If you're a bank, then there's the monthly targets you set, but you track these monthly targets weekly. And then at the end of the month, you're able to see what is it that I can do differently, what led to our results. And just as a background and also as a reminder, to give you some context, at this time, I was providing also training on risk management. So there was a minimum of a monthly review of risks to see what level have they shifted from amber to red. Are they green now? How do we help employees track risk? I actually think that's one of the biggest pillar for continuous improvement, is understanding what the risks are, where they are, how do we mitigate them, and what the impact is. Because once the team got to learn, these are the risks we need to reduce or mitigate against, then that they were really, really, really on a roll in terms of it does take time to do a bit of training, but it also helps feed into this. So here's a sample of measurements, and this is just for you to pick up and see and visualize. This is what I can do for my team. This is what the data that's important. So state of customers. These can be what are the number of potential applicants contacted. If this is a credit manager, how many of your credit officers, if you have them contacting customers, or are you getting that from the marketing department? That can be decided. Number of applications received, numbers approved. What's the number of application in process, for instance, with loan committee? This helps to see what's causing some delays. You can also look at number of loans rejected. When you're looking at state of value streams, couple of things we need to look at is, what is affecting our customers. Often for most loans is, the average time loan takes to be processed and dispersed is like the key defining factor, but also number of complaints received from customers or clients. So tracking, average time between loan committee and disbursement, that can be helpful to see, are we going to meet our targets or is this delaying us? State of the company. I think it's clear, a lot of document research has been done, is that when your team have a good sense of the results of what they're doing per week or per month, then they're likely to perform. Unfortunately, even I think right now, 2024, a lot of businesses still hide this information from employees. But it's one of those things that looks like it's a great thing to do due to you don't want all the data on how much money you're making. But it's a strong incentive more often is once they know this is how much the company is making, or the department has received, then they can quickly calibrate their efforts the next week to try and see if they're performing or not. And this will also reduce having to wait until end of the month or end of the quarter, or 6 months, worst case scenario, when performance review is being done. That's when data is being put. So having these 3 categories, I've seen that it helps a lot. It limits the type of data you need to track on a week by week at a manager's level or at a department level, while all the other data, some organizations might find it difficult, but this also makes it easier for everyone in the team to be aware that these are the things we are focusing. There are other also tools that you can use, but this is something that I've found to be really helpful. So now we're gonna switch a little bit. We've looked at use value centered data. Now we will look at PDCA, the weekly experimentation. And I would want to look at it as like, the art of problem solving. There's I forget his name, but he wrote a book that, to be a good piano player, you need to spend 10,000 hours a day. 10,000. That makes you that's how you're gonna get it. The big, Albert Hall or Carnegie, you just want to spend that much time. But however, when it comes to problem solving, and I will be the first to admit, it's really it's easy to fall into, I would say impatience, but we want results yesterday. We want great lives, we want great results, but we struggle to put in the work. So if I'm doing an experiment and the results are really, really bad, then I'm tempted to just not continue. But it's important to always just tell ourselves and say, hey, the learning is going to emerge. As I take this next step, it's going to draw itself behind me. If I stop, there's no room for it to get to emerge because I stopped learning. So I'll move along. So one thing that's important, that we need to understand our vision, and we also need to understand what our current condition. In anything we do, I think these unpredictable territories what scares most people, including myself. And it's because we don't know. We want like that straight record, but in between there'll be so many challenges. So at the lower graph, you can see, from understanding the challenge to grasping the current condition. Then because we cannot get to in one go, it's really, really highly recommended that we come up with a target closer to our current condition. If you're running a marathon, don't do the 21 miles or 42K straight up. No, start with maybe 5 and then gradually improve. And then look at what are the problems that are coming up. And this is where you're going to experiment through PDCA to understand and overcome the problem. And then once you do that, with the hope that you achieve your target, then you set up your next target and continuously with that. So this is adapted from Mike Rother, whose work is really, really, really good in terms of how to experiment towards results. And then always be willing to, identify the problems, learn more about the problems, and then solve them. Don't fix them. And here I'll give you an example of one of the companies last year. Their goal was to improve the shipment clearance at the port, and this is a sample. This is just slightly adapted their learning board, and the main challenge, current condition, was it takes 2 days to clear the cargo at the port. Their goal, clear the cargo within 24 hours. One of the things that is really, really important is try and implement just one thing at a time. It might be within a day. For most organizations, given there's so much to do, it might be something that, especially if you're starting to learn how to experiment at work, then you need to just do, just one thing. In the case they agreed to get pre-signed checks delivered at the port. What actually happened, there was delay in getting the check signs because 2 of the 5 signatories were not available. And then what did they learn? What the team learned is pre-signing of the checks did not solve the problem. So what shall we do? How about we reduce the number of signatures required? But they thought, okay, how are we gonna get it if the signatories are not available? Do we need to talk to all of them? How do we convince them? So that was their subsequent challenge, and this is what they did. The goal was for this week remain the same. The current condition remained the same, but they knew a little bit about the problems to the extent that they knew what wasn't a root cause. So then they, after reviewing the process map, here's where value stream mapping or process mapping comes in handy. The signatories were reduced from 5 to 2. That is huge. That is huge. Their goal was actually just reduce it to 3. And then they quickly realized that by reducing the number of signatories, they improved the turnaround time at the shipment from 2 days to 6 hours. That's remarkable. That's remarkable. That's between, that's really, really, that's beyond 50%, close to 80%. They also reduced transportation costs for the rider by 80%. This is because they would send the rider for every shipment. Now they're only sending the rider once a week. So that's really, 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 really good. And also they were able to reduce storage costs at the port by 70%. So, but you see, to build in a continuous improvement, and this is what they're practicing, is now they have to think about what shall we do next? Do we just sit and wait? We've improved, well done, well done. No, you got, how do you continuously improve? And one thing that's really, really important here to note is this is something that can help you skip, in a way, root cause analysis, because you will learn if it's a root cause or not. But it also helps you to quickly get rid of ideas that are not helpful because you're going to learn from. So that's the beauty of using a learning board. And then the next was to look at ensuring transactions are really reconciled accurately so that they can avoid potential misuse of open check. So we're coming to the end, and one of the things that I also promise is to look into is, how do you build a continuous improvement mindset? As we've seen, it's really, really important that senior leaders must spend time where work is done, where possible, and as much as possible, find out the root cause, stop fixing problems, start solving the problem. And then we've worked a little bit about it, develop your team, train them how to experiment in continuous improvement language. That can be PDCA, is plan, do, check, act. But it can be also simple. Use a learning board. Simplify it for them so that they can use the learning board. And with that, we come to the end of the presentation today. But we got something that I wanted to introduce you to is the 3 month challenge. So as a continuous improvement expert, I have to experiment as well. And this last couple of months, I've been experimenting, having a challenge every month, which means I also have to implement everything, something new, every week to get into the monthly goal. So what I'd like you to do is to join me on 3 month PDCA challenge and identify one area to improve on. So that would be your goal. And then what is it? Where do you think you'll be like in 3 months? So we have to set your goal for that. And then where am I right now? This could be a personal problem. This could be something in the work that you need to improve. Just pick one. It could be health. It could be I'm trying to get my team to do to deliver the reports on time, or I want to start coaching my team members instead of fixing their problems. So I don't want them to come to me with to be the solution finder. I want to be the coach. I want to train them how to yeah. So it doesn't matter, just pick anything. And then let's figure out where am I right now. And then the next thing to do to help you with that, where do I, with unpredictable territory? 3 months is a long time. A lot of things change. Where can I be in a month's time? And then break it down further. Where will I be next week? Where do you expect to be next week? And then this is where identify what problems, but what's the one thing I can do this way? Just one, not 2, 3, 4. What's the one thing I can do this week on this is and I have to tell you, sometimes it's really hard to stick with just one thing. And the reason for sticking with just one thing is to just help you also learn. If you can do if you really, really struggle a lot with picking one, I would recommend not doing more than 3 things, like absolutely. But for a start, just do one thing a week. It could be if it's an exercise, I want to improve my health, I'm going to spend, walking 10 minutes per day. That's already a lot because you're doing it every day. Or if it's training your team, I'm going to talk to 5 employees about what they need. That's a lot already. So just one thing. And then this is where I would encourage you to schedule accountability coaching sessions with me to help refine your practice. And this way you can set together, I can help you set the target for the next week, and also help you solve the problem, and also challenge you to grow. It's about growing, but it's also just getting comfortable with experimentation. It's not easy. It's stressful sometimes because it's easy to just want to get the results and be happy all the time. But no, remember, we only learn when there's a challenge. When we are happy, then we are like we're like just relax. We're not picking our brain, but it doesn't mean that we don't need to be content. No, we can still be content, but we can still have a learn. And learning only happens when we are challenged, when we are outside our comfort zone. So that's it for today. So I want to thank you for your time, and yeah, thank you so much. It's been great, and thank you so much for the questions that are coming in. Yes, all right, thank you. Yeah, I see your comments coming in. Yeah, you found it useful. Yeah. Oh, yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you so much. Please reach out. My email is, oh yes, let me add that on the chat. So it's gwendo@sodagile.com. I will send it to you as well when I send the presentation and the link. So thank you so much. I wish you a great rest of the week, and I'm looking forward to having yeah, some of you sign up for the coaching. Just send me an email, gwendo@sodagile.com, if you have any. Thank you so much, and all the